everyone, and welcome to the Hobby Musician, and more specifically, welcome to the Workbench. Now, if you've watched the channel for a long time, we're glad you're back, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to click subscribe down at the bottom, and also click that bell so that you can get notified every week when we release a new episode. Now, on today's show, we've got something special for you. About last week, a friend of mine had kind of made the decision that he wanted to get back into guitar as a hobby. And so he had looked around and he had kind of found, through Craigslist ads, a guitar that he really kind of liked and liked the look of and everything. And it was in his price range. He picked it up for about $100. And when we were talking, I said, well, why don't I just take it back and give it the full once over, kind of do the inspection that we've talked about on previous videos. And even, if it needs a little bit of finessing, we could kind of do that here and teach you at home that if you find something in a similar way, that could be something you could do too. So this is what we have. He found this, and as you can tell, this is a very, very close imitation of like a Gibson SG kind of a model. Now it's not a Gibson, it's not an Epiphone, it is a silver tone, but it really does, it has the body style that he really likes, and it has, just kind of the normal hardware you might expect to find on one of those types of guitars. So we've talked before on this channel about the top 3 things that I always look for whenever I get an instrument in my hands that I'm either interested in buying or looking at for somebody else, and we'll go through that. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link up at the top so you can check that out. But the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to take this guitar and I'm going to check the relief in the neck. And one of the ways that you can do that is using the string itself as a straight edge. I'm going to use just the light in the room, and that's going to cast a shadow. So if I look down the neck, I can see both the physical string and I can see the shadow that it casts. And we know that the string is straight. So with a straight string, if I look down and I see a curved shadow, which I do, there's a slight curve in all the shadows, that slight curve tells me that the neck, the surface of the neck, is the thing that's curved. And so when you're dealing with an instrument like this, you want, or at least personally, I want just a touch of relief, curve in that neck, which makes all of the frets accessible so you can kind of play up and down the neck. So that on this instrument already seems to be pretty good, so we won't have to make any adjustments there. Now I'm going to skip ahead. The third thing that I usually check for instruments for myself is the string height, so the action of the guitar. So that's just how high the strings are above the fretboard. Now we can adjust that down here at the bridge, and if we need to, we can adjust things at the nut at the top of the neck. However, when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing when I'm pressing down at these frets. Now for me, I actually like, wherever these strings were set, they're actually pretty good for me. I don't know where my friend's preference would be, so that can be something that later, as he gets into playing this guitar, if he kind of feels like he wants them a little higher or a little lower, that's an adjustment that you can pretty easily make at home too. And on a model like this, there's just 2 screws down here at the bridge. And so if he wants to raise the strings, he just has to unscrew these, and that will raise that bridge, bringing the strings with it, and vice versa if he wants to lower it. Now the one thing I noticed, and before I started filming, I kind of did a quick check, the third and final feature that I really check first is the fret edges. So when you run your hand up and down the neck of a guitar, every time there's a fret, well, there's an edge to that fret. And on really, really high quality instruments, custom shop things where somebody, a master builder is sitting down with these things, they're sitting there with a file and a polisher, and they're going through every single end of the fret, and they're making sure it's nice and rounded, ready to play, so you can move your hand really fast. Now, on more affordable instruments that maybe come down an assembly line and they don't have as much time to pay attention, you can get very rough or scratchy edges. They might have sanded a little bit, but a lot of times it just goes through a machine. And if a single machine is sanding it, sandpaper you get it going, that's a flat surface. You run a neck through it and it just zips down every single fret and you get a flat surface. Now, I'll put a close-up picture here, but when I check these, you'll see in the picture that every single fret has this identical tabletop flat edge. And that's what I was mentioning just a minute ago, that you can see it was just a machine that went zipping up and down this neck to polish that off. Now, the problem with that is, as I mentioned, if you're trying to play fast and you're playing down here and then you got to slide up to get some notes higher up on the neck or back down, that's going to catch into your skin. And even just me doing this right now, I can absolutely feel it. It just skips from fret to fret instead of flowing smoothly. So to fix that, I'm going to use just one of these fret files. Now I think I paid like 12 or 15 bucks for this. And what they're specifically designed to do, they have kind of a smooth bottom edge here that you can put against the fretboard, and that smoothness isn't going to harm the wood on the fretboard. However, the sides to this file have the gritty file edge, so you can run it back and forth along each edge of these frets to really add that kind of final finishing touch to these frets. So I'm going to get the strings off, and then we'll go ahead and give these fret edges a little work. So stick around. Okay, so we got the strings off, and as I was mentioning before, I'm just going to start taking this file and I'm going to go through edge by edge, and I'm going to take that flat tabletop that, whatever was put on there at the factory, and I'm going to start on the right edge, and I'm going to come in and lean into it as I file past it, which will kind of curve off the edge on the right, and then I'm just going to pick up the file, come onto the left side of the fret, and edge it back off, going the other way. And in doing that, you can take a flat and curve in the sides, so that kind of in a 360-degree area, now it's going to be smooth all over. So basically, like I was saying, this is kind of how it is. You can pick any fret, because they all need work, but you can pick any fret and you come on one side. So I'm going to, on the right side here, and as I push forward, I'm going to lean over onto the right. And as I do that, when I take a few, passes at it, maybe 3 or 4 passes, by doing this, it actually rounds off that hard edge, so that as you go by, now your finger is much less likely to catch on that sharpness. So then on that fret, I'm going to switch over, coming over here on the left side, and do the same thing. I lean into it, maybe 3 or 4 passes, kind of starting from the back, pushing forward, and leaning in. And as I do that, one of the things that I start to see, you kind of push off any of the filings or anything with your finger, and when you get to the end, you really see that, yep, maybe just one more on each side. Now you've got much less of a sharp edge on that. So I'll go ahead now, and I'm going to go up and down the neck on both sides of this, and with a few passes on each fret, that's a quick and easy fix for this guitar. So all right, stay tuned. Well, okay guys, that job is done. We went up and down each of the frets and got them kind of filed off kind of on both the right and the left side. And I'll put a close up here so that you can really see. And when you look at the picture, now you can kind of tell that the edges of the frets are smooth because you kind of see that brighter or lighter halo around the edge, or like that U shape, shiny U shape. That tells you that it used to be a hard stop. The fret would go lengthwise and then there was this hard 90-degree angle basically that came over. Now that shiny edge is smooth. So when I come back and I'm running my fingers up and down these frets, I mean, this is a night and day difference in terms of feel. When you're sliding up and down, you know, you feel the fret go by, but you don't get caught on the fret as you go by anymore. So, I mean, I know that was a time lapse for you guys, but that only takes a few minutes of real time and a $12 file to kind of do that. And it's a great upgrade or a project that you can do on pretty much any instrument. Okay, now as I was going up, I did notice this fretboard just needs a good cleaning. So I don't know, you never really can tell if this was maybe sitting in a basement for a few years or garage or something. But as you spend that much time really close to these frets, you want to give this fretboard a good cleaning. Now, there's a ton of different companies that make like conditioning oil and cleaning oil. So you get your favorite brand, and then you just use any kind of soft cloth. And I've got some old socks that were really soft socks that you can already tell these are my oiling socks. So I just put a little dab on this, and you can tell. So just the color of the sock right now, yeah, it's a little drab, but you're gonna see how much grime and dirt gets picked up. So I'm gonna put a dab of the oil on there, and then you can pick anywhere. I'm just gonna start here at the 12th fret. But if you really kind of dig in and put some pressure on this and go back and forth, and then kind of move to the next fret, go back and forth, really get it. And you can already see it really shines up. Well, that's just a little bit of it just being wet. But if I do about 3 frets here, and I take my fingernail and I try to really get up close to the fret on both sides, so you really get into that corner. So if there's any grime hiding in there, you can kind of get it out. Okay, yeah. And you can also see, I mean, there's some dirt coming off in there. And what I do, I like to put fresh oil on there every 3 or 4 frets, because if you try to spread out the oil, it doesn't clean as well. So I'm gonna take a whole pass at this, and we'll be right back and keep going through this guitar. So hang tight. Okay, we got the whole fretboard kind of cleaned and conditioned. And one of the nice things about oils and conditioning oils like this is that in addition to getting grime and dirt and junk off the fretboard, any of the residual oil that's kind of there is designed to seep back into the wood to keep it hydrated, to keep it supple so it doesn't get hard and brittle by drying out. So as you can see here, just in the shining of the light a little bit, you can see some of the frets look a little shinier than others. And what's happening is, as I was moving along, some of those frets were just a little drier than others. So as I moved past them, they're starting to soak in that oil. Now, all the different companies and products kind of have different recommendations, but a lot of them recommend leaving the oil sit for 10, 15 minutes, and whatever is going to soak in will soak in, and whatever's left, you just come back with a dry cloth and wipe it all away, and you have both a cleaned fretboard and a conditioned fretboard. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to let this sit for a little while, and then we're going to come back. I'm going to get this restrung, and the next part of this is we got to get this guitar plugged in. I want to check how the electronics sound, how the electronics work, just to see, are there any grounding issues? Can we fix or clean up anything in the back cavities, and really just kind of see how it sounds. At this point, with the cleaning up of the fret edges and the getting the grime off the fingerboard, we have already addressed the primary factors that really affect playability, how your hands move along the neck, how the strings are, how the neck is bent. Those are the biggest determiners of how easy it is to play an instrument. The electronics will come later, and we always want instruments that sound good, but if they don't play, if you can't move your hand around, then kind of doesn't matter if you have the best pickups in the world. So, like I said, we're going to let this set a little bit, and we'll be right back, get some strings on it, and we'll get it plugged in. All right, everybody, we are back. We've got everything plugged in, restrung. We're ready to go. We're ready to see how this thing sounds. Now, one of the first things that I will do, I mentioned earlier in the video, I do like to check just to see if there's any like unwanted grounding issues or connections. Like if instruments have sat around for a lot of years and like not being used, sometimes connections can kind of erode or come loose just with how the electronics are all soldered together. And one thing that you'll notice if that happens is if you're plugged in and you're in an amp, especially an amp with a little bit of drive kind of dialed in, if you turn up all the volume and just kind of like leave it set open now, and then just like let it set, you know, one of the things you hear, the amp is pretty driven right now, so there's a little bit of that amp kind of humming through, but there's no hiss, there's none of that electronic grounding hum noise, which can kind of indicate a problem. So that's good news for us. Now, running through all of these tone pots and volume pots, when you kind of spin them all the way through their motion, I don't feel any grit, there's no grinding or anything, which could indicate, you know, there might be some dirt caught in there, but they're all solid, they're good to go. So, you know, the only thing left is let's see what we have to sound like. And you can't pick up a guitar like this that looks like a Gibson SG and not play it through a Marshall. So we got a Marshall amp dialed in, just a touch of some plate reverb, and yeah, let's hear what we got. We got it up here on the neck pickup, so it's going to have a little more throaty, a little more open, kind of warmer tone. So I mean, just playing some classic rock. Yeah, I mean, it's got that nice bridge kind of humbucker pickup. So let's kick it down. If we kick it down to the bridge pickup, it's gonna get more punchy. It's kind of bring in that presence, that higher end tone. And you know, again, you can't have a guitar like this and not play some riffs that might get you in trouble on YouTube. But you know, we'll go for it. And that's all. That's all we're gonna play that riff. But I mean that. Tight, kind of in-your-face, driven tones, really, really great sounding. Even, I mean, just for single note kind of licks, like. You know, it's really got a great tone to it. So. For the $100 and the 10 or 15 minutes we spent working on a guitar like this, for somebody who's looking to pick up a new interest, a new hobby, or get back into an old hobby, there's a lot you can do to get great sounding instruments for not a lot of money. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that episode, and if you have stories or you have experiences with picking up instruments and doing this kind of thing, let us know down in the comments. And as always, until next time, play on, my friends. Play on.